Greetings, ghouls! Welcome to Deadsville Horror Talk. I'm your host, director Ronin James, and to my left, my lovely co-host, Steph Infection.
Hey, Scream Hearts.
Today, yesterday, we went and saw Insidious The Red Door together after eating some edibles, which Steph Infection found hilarious.
No, I thought I was dying. I was not happy. Even though I kept laughing, I was not happy.
Not necessarily Steph Infection's thing, but,
No.
you know. We went and had a good time anyway. But here we are today. We're going to do our review of Insidious The Red Door and probably talk some more about the Insidious series, which Steph Infection will lead most of that talk because...
Well, it's my favorite franchise past the 2000s. I guess that's fair to say, right? Like, newer franchise. We have all the, we have like a few new ones in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
This is part of the Wan-iverse, the James Wan universe that includes Annabelle and
All the Conjuring movies.
Conjuring and
The Nun.
The Nun.
Yeah, I'm a big James Wan fan.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I really like
huge.
James Wan as well.
Yeah.
I like the stuff that he produces. I like this whole Wan-iverse that he has created. He's got his own, monsters that he has brought to life, and these franchises are doing well. He's doing something right. This is number 5
Of
for Insidious.
Of Insidious, yeah, and they're my favorite. Yeah, they're just so creepy, and not to get too on James Wan tangent, but he kind of has like a way of bringing old school horror into like new school ways. So it's like, I feel like if somebody else did it, you'd be like, oh, that's cheesy looking, but it's not. It's so creepy because of the music and the lighting and just the way he directs and produces, and I don't know.
Well, I think he definitely takes a page out of the Universal Monsters Handbook with what he's building here, and kind of, new, updated monsters. Not even borrowing from the old. These are all, you got a creepy nun. You got possessed dolls. You got this demon from the what's it called? The
Which one? From this one?
From this, Insidious, the demon from the other realm.
Oh, the red-faced one?
The realm. What's the realm called?
Oh, the Further.
The Further. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, expert. Thank you. The Further,
You're talking
yes.
about monsters. I thought you were trying to have me name a monster.
I was just talking about the demon is from the Further. That's all. I'm just saying this is where I'm just pointing out. These are different creatures that have been created, and they have their own little personalities and worlds, and yet, maybe at some point we'll see some crossover and
Well, I think the cool thing is with The Conjuring, The Nun, Annabelle, like that universe with, what's her name, Lorraine, and, there's a lot of controversial stuff over them, but that's all based on true stories and actually, like, true facts of accounts, where Insidious is kind of like his own kind of world. So
yeah, well, so is The Nun, though. The Nun is
that's The Conjuring.
made up, isn't it? Isn't The Nun made up? The Nun's...
Kind of, but it's
a true account of them.
It's part of that Conjuring. They have that was part of the Annabelle, and
was the Nun part like?
I thought it was because I
get it, that whole Lorraine and Ed thing. That's like the real, and so you have these real stories that are kind of like based off of Ed and Lorraine's findings, and
Yes, that's also based off of a true. Yes.
Oh, so the Nun is based on.
Wow. It's all accounts based off of Lorraine and Ed's findings. So whether it's not
so
as
James
scary.
Wan is like mining Ed and Lorraine's stuff for his for his universe.
In that universe, the Insidious one, which we're talking about tonight, is totally different.
So it's not part of the same Wan-iverse?
It's a different Wan-iverse.
too? This is like the alt Wan-iverse?
They run parallel maybe with each other, but...
This is the Wan-iverse spelled with J-U-A-N. This is Jaime Wan.
Oh, is that...
alternate dimension.
Is that
like
right?
The Spanish James Wan.
Sure, we can say that. No, they're spelled the same.
Anyway... Today's episode, obviously, is going to be talking mostly about Insidious. Before we get to that, though, a little bit about us. I am a longtime stuntman, stunt coordinator, went to school for film and all that good stuff. Now I am the director of Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries, among other things, music videos, short films, and some features in the works here at Deadsville Productions. And Steph Infection is my co-producer, my partner here at Deadsville Productions, and actress, dance choreographer, what else? Wardrobe, props, a little bit of everything. Lots of hats.
Everything.
So this is what we do, and I've been in movies on big budget sets for a while, and now making my transition to creator. And in the digital age, it only seemed fitting to kind of do some digital content creation, since this is exactly what I went to school for, and now here we are. So if you want to see some of the stuff I've dyed in, or know some of the stuff that I've dyed in that you've seen before, you can check out my IMDb. I work under the stage name Jay Green, Jaegreene. You've seen me dye in things like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Person of Interest, Gotham,
Escape Plan 2.
Escape Plan 2. I didn't die in that one. I beat up Arnold. I beat up Sylvester Stallone in that one.
That's still cool.
I got one of the. So that's, I don't know, when I auditioned for that, they had a stunt audition for that. I'll tell a real quick stunt story. People seem to like stunt stories, so I'll tell you a quick stunt story. So going to audition for Escape Plan 2. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and James Liu, who is a legendary martial artist and stunt coordinator in the business, and you'd know him if you saw him. He's the if you're a fan of Big Trouble in Little China, he was one of the yellow turbans in Big Trouble in Little China. He's the one that has the line inside the elevator when they're all drinking the little potion with Egg Shen, and says, "Hey, who is this guy, Egg?" When they ask if they savvy English. So yeah, you saw him fight a lot in that. He did stunts way back then. Coordinator now, and yeah, so I went to audition for him, and friends of mine had worked for him before. He's worked all over, and friends in New York worked for him before this. So I kind of had a connection, so I introduced myself, and then he's like, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, my friends from Philly, you know, they worked for you on, what was it, Luke Cage. He coordinated the Luke Cage series on Netflix." Oh, so they all worked for him, Muhammad, Justin, all those guys worked for him on that. So he was like, "Oh yeah, I love you Philly guys, man. You guys are great. Cool, that's awesome, that's great." And he looks me up and down. Now this is Escape Plan 2. It's about prison. And at the time, my hair was shaved, had a little buzzed mohawk, looking like a UFC fighter, dirty beard.
That's exactly what you look like, actually.
And then James Liu looks me down and he says, "You have a great look for a convict."
Yes.
For a prisoner, yeah. And I was like, "Thank you, Mr. Liu, thank you. It's a wonderful compliment." And sure enough, he hired me for a couple days, and I got to rough up the man, Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone. So if you blink, you'll miss it. But it's the scene in Escape Plan 2 where they jump Stallone into the general population, and I give him like a shot to the gut, and then I strong arm him while all the homies jump on him and beat the shit out of him all the way down the line.
It's a good scene.
Yeah. So that was my big moment beating up Rocky.
Yeah. Philly takes on Philly.
He was fun to work with, though.
John taking on John.
Yeah, he didn't even rehearse the stunt. He just went out there. He's like, he had his stunt double showed. "Let me see what you did. Okay. Just roll this one. You want to practice slide? Nah, just roll it." And there we go. And we were kicking Sly's ass. It was great.
That's awesome.
Great guy. He was super fun. I only worked with him a couple days, but super fun.
I hear he's great.
So, if you want to hear more stories like this occasionally, and you enjoy what we do here on Deadsville Horror Talk.
In Deadsville,
make sure you subscribe, like, follow, call to action stuff, all that good social media stuff. Leave some comments. If you're listening on Spotify, there's like polls and questions you can answer at the end of episodes if you liked it, if you liked the movie, etc., etc. And we will read some of that stuff on the show from time to time.
Yeah.
And yes, Steph Infection, if you're watching us on YouTube right now or on Spotify, you will see that Steph Infection is wearing our brand new Welcome to Deadsville, where everyone is dying to live.
Do my best model as I'm sitting down.
So there they are. Yeah. You can order these now on our Big Cartel site, DeadsvilleProductions.bigcartel.com.
Yes.
$13 plus shipping and handling. And what sizes do we have, Steph Infection?
Small through 3XL.
We didn't get extra smalls? Just
we
small.
didn't. This is a small.
Okay.
A little baggy on me, but I'll make
Wash it in hot water.
It'll definitely shrink a little bit.
They're soft.
Yeah.
Very soft, lightweight cotton.
Extremely
ring-spun cotton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very comfy shirts. We don't buy the uncomfortable stuff. We want you guys to actually wear them and show them off.
Yeah.
So we make sure they're nice and comfortable.
Yeah, you're going to want a couple of these, actually, because they're going to be your favorite T-shirt.
We also got some Dicky Devil shirts in, our pre-orders. There might be a few available this weekend. You can grab shirts this weekend as well at...
Well, Hellaware Punk Night at Bar 13 Friday. The July 14th. Thank you. I was trying to think of the date.
And that is Loud Love's live album recording.
Yes. So I'll be there. You can get a couple T-shirts if you want. And
I will be with the Dicky Devil and the Deviants, managing them at Tromathon 2023 at Mahoning Drive-In Theater, upstate PA, where it will be All the Damn Vampires, Dicky Devil and the Deviants, and Riverside Odds playing on Friday night. And you can get some Dicky Devil shirts there. Whatever we have left over after the pre-orders will be available there. We can get some Welcome to Deadsville shirts there. We'll have some of those with us as well. We'll have the Dicky Devil CD there you could pick up as well. And some other cool stuff. I believe Doggy Deviant will be in attendance, so you can take pictures with Doggy.
Yay.
And puppeteer Maddie Meek will be with us. And, come out and see us at Mahoning on Friday night.
So whichever direction you're in, come to see one of us.
If you're in Delaware, you go to Hellaware Punk Night with Loud Love, or if you're in upstate PA, you can come see us at Tromathon. And then on Saturday, you all need to come to Bar 13 Delaware and support the lovely ladies of punk.
We have 7 bands of some badass female-fronted bands.
Pretty in Punk 2023, presented by Horror Punks USA, our live production company. Bar 13 Delaware, 21 plus. What is it at the door? You can get tickets now online.
20, I believe.
I think it's $20 at the door. 7 bands, they all kick ass.
Yeah.
Every year, this is a great event. We have a couple of vendors coming out. Some more female representation in our vendors. So, craft beer, food truck, vendors, kick-ass ladies.
Yes.
Power to the vagine. Actually, no.
Viva.
Viva la vagine.
Yes. That's all you got. You're going to piss him.
Viva la vagine.
Somebody off with that.
I know. They hate me. They already hate me. This was too much like Spock.
I know. You got to turn it around.
Yeah, turn it around and say it like this, between the V. Viva la vagine.
Of course.
We're getting canceled before we even get started, folks. Spread the word. Also, speaking of canceled, we're actually rolling pretty good. We've been at this for less than 2 months. And I think we need like 22 more new listeners.
Yeah. So tell your friends.
Plenty of time, but we're almost at our 100, and then you'll start hearing some ads. Oh well.
Oh well.
Helps us. You might hate it, but just bear with us because it helps us to keep doing these.
Yes.
All right, let's get to it. Steph Infection, are you going to read the synopsis, or should I read the synopsis?
I can do the synopsis.
It's a pretty quick one.
I have this one.
Oh, good.
I pulled up a different one. So, all right. Josh Lambert heads east to drop his son, Dalton, off at school. However, Dalton's college dream soon becomes a living nightmare when the repressed demons of his past suddenly return to haunt them both. So it's pretty straightforward, Insidious.
So, yes. We can... let's go through our writers and directors and everything. We have interesting... our writers, Leigh Whannell and Scott Teems. I am not familiar with either. Do you have any more info on either?
No, I don't. They may have been a part of some other ones, because I know Juan was a producer on this, and there's a lot of like the same faces kind of mixed in different spots. Yeah, it's all...
Oh, okay. He played. Scott Teems also wrote Halloween Kills, it looks like.
Oh, great.
So, yes, he was the writer on Halloween Kills. So, do we have Scott Teems to thank for Evil Dies Tonight?
I think because I'm going to blame him for the parts that I didn't like about this movie. Because that actually...
Evil Dies Tonight. Evil Dies Tonight.
Well,
Lord.
at least we didn't get that.
Yeah. Let's see what we get with Lewanel. Lewanel.
It's Lee. I have never in my life heard anyone pronounce
I don't know.
Lee as Lay.
Oh, he's an actor. So he was an actor in some
Oh, he
stuff.
was in Insidious, the last key?
I guess.
Let me see his face.
Insidious 2, he was... Oh, it's Specs.
I'm going to say... I said, let me see his face. Oh.
It's Specs.
Okay.
Lee Wan-iverse plays Specs, so he has...
He may have been a writer in...
He has been in many of these previous movies, playing Specs, one of the legacy characters from Insidious. Man, we have legacy characters in Insidious.
Well, first off, let's just say it's basically the entire same cast as the first two. So down to it's
but they didn't have Specs in him.
Yes, they did.
They were in it.
Yeah, they were in the commercial. You may have been.
I mean, yeah, okay.
But they actually did. Yeah, they filmed that. It's brand new. They did a commercial, and we're getting into spoilers right now. But yes, they were in the movie also.
Yeah, but not like prominent in it. Just
no,
like
but they were still in it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
There's a All
right. Well, fair enough. Yes. Those are our writers. Our director is Patrick Wilson.
Who's
his first-time director, who is also our star. Patrick Wilson has done lots of horror. He plays Josh Lambert. He plays Ed
in the Conjuring series.
Yeah. And he is a veteran actor, and this was his directing debut. And I will say he did a good job. We're going to get into our first take soon, but I thought he did a pretty good job for his directorial debut. You're always going to have there's going to be some issues. It's first time out, so it's not going to be perfect, but knowing it's his first time and also knowing that being on camera and directing at the same time is really fucking difficult.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did good.
He did good.
His directorial debut, he might have decided to not be on camera for it, maybe. But I don't think it really hurt him that much.
Yeah, but Juan was probably there helping him too, and he was a producer. I don't know on it, but who knows?
I don't know. All right, well, we're going to jump to our cast. Patrick Wilson, jumping right to our cast as Josh Lambert, returning.
Yeah.
So this one kind of jumps a couple. Like we go, this is like a pickup on
it's the second one, so it's 10 years later.
10 years later from the second one.
Yeah,
okay.
And it's all the same cast.
Okay, yes. And we can tell that, obviously Patrick Wilson has been acting since this one. Rose Byrne, Renee, she's a veteran actress. We've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff.
I will say Ty Simpkins, Dalton Lambert, who I don't know what else he has done. Maybe you could bring him up. But
this is Jurassic World, Iron Man 3.
Oh, good. Okay.
Harley.
So he has been doing some acting. He was very good. Dalton was very good.
He's in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. He was in Endgame. Very good.
Harley Keener. It's same as Iron Man.
Oh, okay. He's probably, interesting. He was really good. I thought he was very good in this role. Yeah. His brother, Andrew Astor, who plays Foster Lambert.
Yeah, same.
Not so good.
I'm gonna guess that they just called him back for this.
Because, he's up here.
Because I can't imagine.
He probably hasn't worked that much.
The Hangover he was in, that's it. Besides the
Insidious, The Hangover, and no, he's got 28 credits.
Oh well,
that's just what he's known for.
TV, movies, short.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of
No, they're not really.
He's done a bunch of crappy short.
The only things is the two Insidious where he plays the brother that's scared. He's not even in it that much. Even in the first two Insidious. It was very obviously him because
it's definitely the same.
No, but it was when I saw him, I was like, oh crap, like that. I mean, he's got
that
just
look. Yeah.
he's got that look. Yeah.
No, they definitely brought the kid back, and he definitely has not been acting much since.
No.
He was not good. Even in the phone conversation, he's very
I thought
fake.
I gotta we gotta not. I'm gonna get into spoilers. So
we won't stay on it too long. We'll skip over it. Carl, Steve Coulter returns as Carl. We had we had some few others. Sinclair Daniel as Chris Winslow.
This was a new cast.
Yeah, she's part of the new cast. Carl is a returning
She was
cast.
very funny.
Sinclair Daniel I liked. She's like that kind of frenetic, college, millennial-ish, kind of very outgoing, and pulls Dalton, who is a very introverted person.
I'll say I think we spent a little too much time on her. But
okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think we'll...
All right, well, we will get to that.
Yeah.
Also in here we had Lynn Shay does make an appearance. Mm-hmm. Another returning cast member. Now we see it's more flashback.
Well, there's flashback.
He's watching a video. There's a video, and she's talking about
typical Insidious, watching videos of things,
doing research and learning. And Specs and Tucker is returning as well. But just in a commercial capacity?
Well, not just, but we won't get into that right now.
Okay. All right. Pete Dager as Nick the Dick.
Oh, God. And he was a dick.
He was a dick. He was kind of funny. I mean, I just appreciated him.
I thought it was too much. I was like, wow, what the heck?
Well, again, we kind of went off on the, we kind of.
Tangents.
Right. Well, that'll probably do it for our cast here. There's not anything besides, Patrick Wilson as Josh Lambert, Ty Simpkins as Dalton Lambert. Those are our main two protagonists here, and they do a solid job. Both of them are very good. Very, very good.
Yeah.
So, that being said, we can go to our first take, Steph Infection. This is spoiler-free, folks, so we will warn you before we dig deeper and give you our spoilery stuff. So, first takes. Ladies first!
I had no idea you were going to say that.
Yes, well, we have to let you go first since this is your favorite franchise.
You let me go first even when it's not.
Yes.
All right, so this being like my favorite franchise, I loved a lot of this. I appreciated the entire thing. Some of it was incredible, and then other parts kind of got me a little bit mad, where I was like, I thought that they were trying to create like an entire storyline just to get through and kind of like get us to where we are 10 years later, and I thought it could have happened so much quicker. And they could have used just the original cast even to do that. Maybe add like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but we didn't need to, we could have had like, oh, this is a longtime best friend, rather than create an entire new best friend that took so much time getting to know. And I was like, why can't we just say, hey, they go to college with an old best friend who actually knows his history, bam, half the movie is done. Like we could have went right into just everything else. And I thought a lot of it was so good. And I think you missed like the best parts, like the best parts. Yeah. And I will say I had probably the worst seat in the theater. Sorry to say that, but it was crowded. But there was a lot of doors opening and people walking by.
I decided to try that seat for a change.
Never again. Never again. But so
stop walking in front of us.
It affected my first take. I think it would have been better if we were like, we could only see the screen. But overall, I still think that the storyline was a little bit lagged, but some of the kills and some of the everything was just, I don't know, it was really good and then really,
Not kills, it's jump scares. There's no kills.
What did I say kills?
You said kills, yes. There's no kills.
I didn't mean kills.
The jump scares.
It was jump scares.
It's not a slasher.
It's
a haunting show.
I meant some of the, whatever.
Jump scares.
Jump scares, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of the problem with this, and I enjoyed it, but it was very slow. It was a very slow burn. I think part of the problem is that we, as the audience, already know the backstory, already know what happened in Insidious 2. And a lot of this movie is spent with our main characters in the dark, still trying to figure that out, and it just takes so long for them to get there while we're all just like, come on, we already know this, come on. And that's why I think
that's exactly what I was like, why are we doing this?
Right, you could have gotten through it a lot quicker, but I think that, I get what, I guess what the writers and Wilson were going for. I mean, this whole thing is like it's like a father and son breaking the cycle of trauma. The whole thing's a metaphor for this like generational trauma cycle and trying to break it, even though they're doing it with a demon, and it's told in the frame of a horror story. This is really what this is really about at its core. This is a father and son trying to break generational trauma.
Yeah, and
it's gone to the point, and it's very. It's a very metaphorical thing with, the idea of them. Is that spoilery? We probably shouldn't talk about that yet. How they're trying to forget it and suppress it.
Well, the end, basically, before he gets to, the end of Insidious 2, we see Carl. I mean, if you haven't seen Insidious 1 or 2, you shouldn't see this movie. Because he forgot it.
So this isn't a spoiler for
This isn't a spoiler. So the end of Insidious 2, we see Carl hypnotizing them to forget the further completely. Right. And it says it in the synopsis. They don't know why they don't get along, or they're kind of like they don't want to connect.
Yeah, the family's in turmoil when this thing starts.
Yeah, so
they all hate each other.
Yeah, so it's like, but they were hypnotized to kind of forget what they went through and bonded over mostly. So they kind of have this, and it comes out later, but I just think we spent too much time on it where I'm like, oh my God, we could have had that in one scene.
Yeah.
Like, we could have had all this in one scene.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was, he was trying to do more of the father-son thing. That's what it was going for.
And also they're trying to discover and remember. So there was a lot of like, oh, I kind of remember this. And there was a lot of little Easter eggs from the first that you were like, you had no idea, you were oblivious the whole time. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Okay. And I get...
Yeah, I admit, I'm not the biggest Insidious fan. I watched them, but I'm just like,
you started making fun of Carl's name at one point. I was like, do you not remember him? And you were like, no.
Because when I hear Carl, I start thinking of The Walking Dead.
Oh, I start thinking of llamas with hats.
Funny how the brains work differently.
Carl,
Oh, yes, the llama with the hat, yep.
Did you eat him? No. I just had a hankering from some hands. All right.
All right, we'll finish up your first take. What would you would you recommend?
Yeah, if you are... It's not the best. It's probably my least favorite out of them. But as a whole, I kind of feel like they were wrapping up the franchise with this one, and it's kind of like an end all. Which, I mean, you don't know because you never know. With the further the door can be opened, and we know that from all the. It always seems to open somehow.
Yeah. And there could be more Insidious. It just might not follow this family. The door might be closed for them now.
Yeah.
Maybe,
or maybe we'll have, Dalton come back later. We'll see. But I think that it really, there were some moments that I really enjoyed. Some of the jump scares are holy crap scary. Even when with the door open next to me and a bright light, I was like, oh my God, it was done so well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that the Wan-iverse movies absolutely do well, is they know how to do the jump scares. And they don't overdo it in this one. They
put you in that in that position. You're like, oh my God. And just when you think there's going to be a jump scare, there's not. And you're like, oh my God, now my heart's racing even more. We're going on, it's so intense that when it finally comes, you're out of your skin. Bottom line, just out of your skin.
All right, well, I would recommend it as well.
Oh, yeah.
even if you're not a fan of the series or the Wan-iverse or anything, if you just like horror movies, you like a good scary horror movie, you'll probably enjoy it. You might find it a little slow, especially if you don't know.
You have to at least watch 1 and 2 to watch this.
Yeah.
Don't watch
1
it
and 2
without
and then go watch this one. You could skip 3 and 4 because they take place.
They're prequels.
Earlier. But and that's, I guess, what kind of threw me too, because I was like, it's been so long since I watched 1 and 2, and I know I watched 3, and then I was like, did I even watch 4? But then I watched the recap, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did watch 4. Yeah. They just kind of, I don't know.
Because you could kind of watch it standalone, but they made sense to the beginning, and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Oh my God! So at the end of 4, it came full circle as why 1 even happened, and it wasn't even the demon that he first saw as a kid opening the red door. It was Elise. So it was like, those were those moments you're like, oh my God, and that was in 4. Like, it always came full circle, and we kind of had moments of that in this. Not as many, but there was a lot of flashbacks in this that I'll tell you that I really appreciate it. Like, I love that. I love when we're intertwining 2 movies, kind of together. It definitely
helps you remember stuff too. You're like, oh yeah, because that's what helped me, because I didn't remember anything until they started showing the flashbacks, and then it started coming to me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He went full fucking Shining.
Yeah, I could see it happening where I was like, oh, here it comes. And you're like, is this from? I was like, this is from that movie. It's not like just a redo, and it was everything from the footage from the. Well, mainly the second one, but because that was where it left off. Yeah, so I liked it. I liked that. Like I said, there was just the story. Took a little bit long to get. There's still like jump scares in between that.
Yeah,
but
there was enough there to keep you interested. It
was just following, I
just got really hungry at one point and needed some pretzel
you missed
bites.
at the, like me.
This seems slow. I could go get some pretzel bites.
I can't wait for it to come out, because I'm going to be like, watching this again, and I'm going to fast forward just to that part, because you're going to be like, holy shit. It was that good.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. But yeah, now I want to go back and watch the other ones, especially 3 and 4, just so I can see, because I do love Lin Shaye. I think she's awesome. I liked her cameo in this, even though it was brief. Her little stuff at the end, and yeah, that was good.
I do have some things I have to say about that, though.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're going to jump there next. Before we get to digging deeper, though, we'll tell you that the Insidious The Red Door is rated PG-13, and it is playing now in theaters. So that's the only place you can see it.
Yeah.
It is not streaming anywhere yet. I don't know if there's plans for it to go streaming, but go to the theater and check this one out. Support theatrical horror releases. All right. It's time to break out the shovels. Woo, shovel time.
It's not going to get me this time.
Dig in deeper. This is the part where we give you the spoilers. If you haven't watched the movie yet and are planning to see it, pause the podcast now, go to the movie theater.
Right now.
See it, and come back out and hit play on your ride home, and you can see if you agree with what we're about to tell you. All right. Steph, I'm going to let you carry this one, because...
All right, so listen, I feel like I'm trying to think of how it started, though. We're probably not going to go on like a crazy timeline of this whole movie, because I feel like a lot of you need to go see it, and some of you may just be sticking around looking for some spoilers. So I will say we get the idea, that they're at the grandmother's funeral, and the father and mother clearly are divorced now. And she's like, why don't you, drive Dalton to college? And you can tell. So then we get this scene where he's in the cemetery, sitting in his car, and he's watching baby footage, like baby videos of him and Dalton. And you can see like an image, like, typical Insidious.
The blurry, like, creeping
something
the car,
getting closer and closer, and then when he shuts it off and stops communication with Dalton, it goes away. And you're like,
I thought the scene just ended.
No, he went like this and put the phone down, and when he came back, it was gone.
Right, it disappeared.
So, but I kind of caught on, because the next time he was talking to Dalton, there was something behind him too. So I think they were just connected. It was showing that they were connected, but you didn't know what was going on. So they were started having nightmares again. They didn't know why they didn't have this bond anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing. Let's talk about that real quick,
so
because that's the big elephant in the room that starts off the movie, is that everybody hates each other. They've gotten a divorce because this whole hypnotism and suppression of past events has led to all this animosity in the family. And Dad always works, they always avoid each other, and
we get that later, yeah, because his dad wasn't around, which we know from like the first 2 movies. But this one, it was like once they became hypnotized in the end of 2, they forgot the further. They forgot everything that they went through, where he was fighting for his son's life and doing everything in his power to fight demons, to stay. Like, it was like they forgot everything. Like, he almost forgot just how to be a dad. Where, I'm going to just jump to, I mean, it's, whatever, we're jumping to kind of the end because we're going to jump around a little bit, but we kind of figure out that he's got this impression of his dad kind of coming after them with a hammer.
That's the.
But
we don't have to.
I don't think we need to.
End. We can get through to So the whole thing is like.
Kind of comes out a little bit more in the end, but
it's coming out because here's the setup. The grandmother dies. She dies with secrets. Everybody knows. Nobody's talking anything, and there's a whole thing where Josh is getting ready to go to college, and Dad is always working, always away, never connected, and the idea, why don't you drive him to college? That's what kind of starts this whole thing in motion. So he's messaging him, hey, why don't I had an idea, how about if I drive you to college? And, you could tell, like, even, and believe me, look, a lot of this hit home for me because I have a 20-year-old son who goes to college, and I drive him to college, and the whole fucking ride he's on his phone, he's in the earbuds, watching YouTube, he's not talking to me. We don't chit-chat. It's not, and we have an okay relationship. Like, he doesn't, hey, I didn't try and kill him with a hammer. At least not that I remember.
Yeah, but I was like that with my parents too. It's like,
everybody,
what are you going to talk about?
You always have that.
Yeah.
But that's
even if you're the cool dad.
Right, but that's our setup. Like, it's like the typical father. It's that typical father and teenage son, like, rocky relationship now to the nth degree, because there's this suppressed memory of Dad going full The Shining on his family and trying to kill them all. So and nobody even remembers it. So that's.
Now, this is also going to start my first kind of like, I'm going to have rants this time, I feel like, because I felt like we spent too much time in the car, too much time in the dorm. We introduced a new character. Okay, we get it. She's a little crazy. They're not supposed to be, co-ed dorms. He says, I'm going to go figure this out. And then Dalton says the meanest thing, which makes him run off crying. Like,
oh, yeah. The meanest thing to the dad.
To the dad. The dad ends up leaving, and then.
So Mom divorced you.
Yeah, and it was like, all right, I get it. I just felt like, even at times I was like, okay, now we have the. He wants him to go to a frat party. Now we have the new girl saying, let's go to the frat party. We have this whole scene in a frat party. Dad leaves. Like, it was just so, I don't know. I just felt like it could have been done a little bit quicker.
Well, the frat party thing was because they had to introduce that ghost. And that's where he starts. He goes to the frat party. He winds up going. And that's where he sees that ghost in.
Yes, throwing up.
In what's his name's room, throwing up on him. Yeah, the kid who was like dying. Would he die of?
Alcohol poisoning, obviously.
So,
it was, and
so that was why, it's kind of like. So he doesn't know he has that connection to the further, and
no,
that's
we
why
needed these moments.
Right, you had to take him to that party so that he could be at that haunted location and rediscover that connection, because that's what kind of reconnects him, is being there in that spot.
And I think, and I can appreciate what he was trying to do, even with the comedy with the one, but I felt like his whole speech, the Nick the Dick on the, I was like, all right, I get it, he's a dick. Now they're gonna go upstairs. Now they're looking through, his room. Now, like, they were just like, there was a little drawn out where I felt like some scenes could have been a little shorter. And then we see, you know, he sees the ghost. He goes under the bed. Nick the Dick, you know, I don't know if that's the same scene when he comes in and out, or is that when he goes back?
No, Nick goes out.
Then he goes, no, this is the first time. Yeah. He's hiding under the bed. That's creepy because you don't know if you're in the further or not because somebody may have just shut off the lights. This is something that bothered me from the beginning of the movie, though. In no other parts of this franchise have you ever just been able to, in the further, out of the further, in the further, out of the further. I was like, like it was fine, but I felt like if we should have spent more time on why that was happening. Maybe they got hypnotized again, and now they're so in and out of the further that they don't know what's happening. I don't know. It was just it was a little confusing as to how that started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that happens. There's time. Exactly. Is he just crazy? Is he in the further? They do that in a bunch of movies. We've seen it in Smile. We've seen it in...
It just doesn't happen in the Insidious ones. Once you go, you have to astral project. That's always been the thing. You have to be conscious of going there.
Right.
So the fact that he wasn't conscious, neither of them.
That he would just wind up in the further...
now, the creepy people follow you, and there was always those ghosts that when you would walk in, like even in the first one with baby Callie, she opens the mom, and she's not somebody that can astro project, so she walks in, she sees the ghost that's, you know, the really mean demon that starts like, but then when she kind of comes to, it's gone. So but it was the kids sleeping that was opening the door to the realm, and when the kids were asleep, that's when things were starting to happen because he was opening by astro projecting and opening the door. So the fact that none of them were sleeping, I was like, how are they doing this? I didn't like that. I thought there could have been just a very easy writing change of why that was happening. Maybe they went to therapy together. Like if we started this, you know what I mean? And they're fighting at the cemetery. Why don't you go for a therapy with your son? Fine. Then you take him to college. Fine. Like, and then they go through a therapy session, which they're told to like shut their eyes and think. And now all of a sudden they're in between worlds. Like that could have made it so much more believable. Do you know what I mean? You got what I'm saying? Anyone?
Sure.
There was just no reason to change it up like that. I appreciated it. I just put it aside when I was watching it. But then I was like, why? That's never been able to happen. That much, that often. Like it was very often. So
is that your first rant?
First.
Is that your rant over? Is that your
This is how I feel.
Steph's rant? That was like the weakest rant. We're gonna have to work on your rants. You gotta be more raw, more fire and brimstone when you rant.
All right.
You're too nice when you rant. She's a nice ranter. We gotta work on this.
All right. I'll rant at you.
I'm sure. So anyway, Dalton goes to college, and he goes to this art class, and ends up drawing the picture of the Red Door. And that kind of starts him on this whole, I must find out what it means. And slowly the figure starts, I found that to be a little weird. Like he starts drawing the Red Door, all right? And he's just working on the Red Door. And then next thing you know, there's like a figure coming there, and it's obviously looks like a crowbar for a little while, but then it starts to become the hammer and stuff. And he's like, this is, and I'm like, yeah, it's a little, he seems to be like troubled by it. And I'm like, and he keeps like the door. And I'm like, yeah, but what about the dude? Obviously the murderous dude down here that you're drawing. We're just looking past this murderous dude in the bottom corner of the thing, and we're just, the door. Even when the dude's taking shape, we're not kind of talking about this dude holding whatever it was like this until finally he has this like, this final epiphany where he fucking dreams it or sees it, or again, we're not sure whether it's real dream in the further, an unlocked suppressed memory, because stuff's not always made that clear, but finally he realizes that's his dad's face, and Oh, he draws it in.
I mean, that was like at the end of the movie, and kind of at the end.
And yeah, like we all knew it was coming. Like that was like.
But I still didn't know. I was like, is that the old lady, the bride? I don't know. It didn't look like him at first, and then
No, you just kind of were like, yeah, there's a person with murderous intent in this picture.
Yeah. Well, now let's talk about, because some of these scares. So at some point,
Chris watching and
so that was a cool part that I liked. So when he meets Chris, like that first night, she's got, what was that called? The blowing keyboard thing?
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that was, but yeah, she has a blowing poop.
I guess you blow for air and you can play a keyboard. A blow board. I don't know. But just like in the first one, when he's playing on the piano, the song that the mom wrote for the husband, Josh, Dalton forgets that song, and that's how he found, like, he was trying to let people know. So in the first one, we think it's just a haunting, and she's like, she keeps hearing the piano playing, she keeps going and shutting it, you know, and it's so creepy, and she's like, that's my song. It was actually Josh, or maybe it's the second one, actually, because he's possessed now in the further, he's stuck in the further. So when Dalton picks that up, he plays that.
Right.
He played it, and then he was like, I don't know what it is. But it's the song that got.
No, but he says to her at one point that my
mom used to, but he didn't. I don't think he didn't grasp that he was also going to astro project and then go play that, and this girl Chris just comes in and is like, I believe you. Like I was like, what? She's like, I don't know what you're doing, but I believe you. And I was like, it was just. I thought she was great, but she could have been like a childhood best friend, so we didn't have to get into this whole. I'm going to tell you about my past, and I'm going to, like, it could have just been a friend that was like, I know you and your dad don't get along.
For that part, I forget that.
You may have left.
Is that when I was getting my pretzel bites?
Yeah, I think so. I'm so mad. You missed the best part. I'm really still mad about this, because I was petrified. There are too many people around me. Yeah, well, he astro projects up to her new room, plays it, and then comes back down. And she knocks on the door. We don't know if he's out of the further, in the further, out of the further, and he opens the door and it's her. But again, I just thought there's a lot of time spending where he's trying to figure out, and I guess maybe we needed a new friend for him to kind of talk it out and figure it out.
Bounce boarded off of.
Yeah, but I felt like it was happening a little too much, and she just believed him so quickly that it would have been easier if a childhood best friend was like, oh, that makes sense.
Somebody who knew the
family, who knew the somewhat history. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Josh, the father, he starts seeing things, and he thinks he's going crazy. And I can't remember if this was after or before the one that you missed, but he goes to the MRI machine.
Oh yeah, the MRI machine was awesome.
Oh my!
I knew it was coming, but when they actually, the actual execution of it was awesome, because they like extended the tube, and it was like,
that's why I wish we were kind of closer, because we would have felt more. Like I had a little ledge in my eye in the corner too, never letting you pick seats.
No, I usually pick the other ones, man. I was like, oh, let's sit back here. Lots of leg room. I didn't know what the setup was. I could just see that there was like leg room, and I thought it was like
leg room everywhere in that damn theater. All right. Yeah. Anyway, no, but it was like this is why I love these jump scares in these movies, because they take a while. Like you're hearing that, and it was the exact MRI sounds. Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I hate them too. I'm claustrophobic. I can't sit through them.
And so even if I know, and I am not claustrophobic, but I still hate MRIs, and I have to get them, especially on my head a lot, because I'm around you too much, and I get migraines.
Oh, I thought it was because you're crazy.
I knew you were going there. But you're hearing this, the loud, bum, 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 all those sounds in an MRI is so loud. So everyone in that theater is anxious just from hearing those sounds that loud. Like you're kind of, your inside starts shaking because you can feel what that feels like being in there. And then he starts calling and nobody's there, but it's taking forever. And then you can hear, and just like in the first ones where you can hear through the can, that's exactly what it gave me, that image when the kids are talking through the can and then the ghost starts talking back to him and he throws it and they pull it real quick.
You're not alone or something.
Yes, I forget.
You're not in there alone. You're not alone in there or something, I think it was.
Yeah, but you knew it wasn't the doctor.
Right.
And then he wasn't answering him and he said something and he was like, hello? This was the part that I realized we were getting ghosts from, that wherever they were. Because I kind of was like, are they just spilling over from the further? But they were spilling over from the further by location. And I guess it just took me a couple to really get that.
Yeah, it was a good scare, though. I mean, the part...
Oh, my God,
the fucking scene with him down, and you just see the hand start creeping down towards the shoulder. And he has no clue, and he's just like, well, no, not yet. He doesn't go back yet. They show you the hands start to kind of creep down. First, they show you above him, like they go through a series of shots really tight.
Yeah.
Because you're in a very tight space. And the first one is kind of like him laying down. You can kind of see that there's nothing behind him.
Oh, yeah.
And then they cut closer to him, and it's like on him, and it's looking at his feet. And then when they come back to him, then you can kind of see like the silhouette of something back there. And then when they cut close to him, you start seeing like on top, looking down on him in extreme close-up, you start seeing the fingertips start to creep into the top of frame down by him here. And then, you know, we pull back out to one of the slightly wider extreme close-ups. That's the only way I can think of to describe it, the slightly wider extreme close-up.
Yeah.
But it's a different angle. It's that low angle again, down like almost chin down, so you can see that this thing is here inside the tube. Even though there was no room in the tube, there was like, you know, a couple inches at the top of that tube. Now all of a sudden, spatially, it's like...
Yeah. It's
further, and he's in there, and it's like, and it's creeping down, and he kind of feels it, and that's when he kind of starts to look.
That scene, though, no, it's him bending backwards, looking, and it's so long. I felt like it was so long, because I'm like, oh my God, his whole body, like this is his head, he's like looking back, trying to like break his neck to see what's behind him, and
and I totally expected to see it when we got all the way back.
That's what usually,
like,
that's why in these movies, they never happen that way. That's why, and you think that we would know this by now. And nothing's there. And he comes back and he looks at his feet and here he comes crawling up at him.
Crawling up the tube, that was awesome.
Oh my God.
That was a fucking great one.
Oh my God, it was so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the highlight jump scares in there. Probably, well, I didn't see the other one that you were talking about, but that one was probably the best one for me.
That was the second best.
Especially because I hate MRIs. I mean, I totally relate.
It was a really good one because you're in there, you're like, oh my God, nobody's answering him. And that's the thing, like a lot of these movies, they get to the jump scare so fast sometimes that's why I love this franchise.
Or they bombard you with them. And they can punch them so that they're less effective when they do happen.
Absolutely.
This one, if they set you up for a couple and then they don't happen, when they do finally give you the payoff, it's that much better.
It's
it feels
really
that much more satisfying.
It's really hard for movies, especially now, and they've always been able to do this, and that's why it's my favorite, is you're expecting the jump scare. You know it's coming. You're waiting for it. And they fake you out, and it eventually comes.
And then they'll give
but it's not, it's just, it's in that scene, but and then the build-up itself is just, it's always so great that everyone is just screaming.
So real quick, we could talk about the Specs and Tucker. Their appearance here is brought in after Chris is like, she's already accepted that Dalton is able to astral project, so she's been Googling it, looking into this stuff, and that's when she comes across YouTube videos by Specs at Tucker explaining astral projection, and that leads her to a clip of Elise.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of cute because he's watching.
About the further.
I love stuff like that. I was like, oh, this feels like nostalgic, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's very like going down the rabbit hole, just like you like realistically would, and you're like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you could see he's like kind of thinking they look familiar, but he doesn't remember them. Because he was hypnotized.
That stuff kind of worked for me because again I watched those movies so long ago and I don't remember a whole lot of them, so I felt like
you didn't even know that was them.
I felt like I felt like
I was like
Josh and Dalton here. I felt like my memories of these movies were repressed. I don't remember any of it.
I know. I wish you would have. We should have just rewatched.
We should have rewatched.
I know, but that's all right.
It's okay. This was still.
I love them so much. They're so good. So I don't know. At one point, so Josh goes to the therapist after the MRI, and he's like, my memory is, I feel like it's slipping, but, because he was hypnotized. So he's like, the therapist tells him to play memory and stuff like that to kind of, this is the big scare that you decide to go get.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he tells him to play the kids' games, and he's doing memory on the.
Oh my God! But this is the thing. So it just let me set the scene. We have a panel, like a window, with all these different paneled squares. Mm-hmm. So he has taped his whole family's, like 2 of each pictures of his family, and he's playing memory, and he's switching them around so you can see outside in the street. Now, nobody's out there, and he does it a couple times, and it's just, they're so great with, lifting it up, and you just see like a person standing across the street. Down, up. And you would think it's gonna move again, but it doesn't. It's still there, it's still where it needs to be. And then he's like, he keeps messing up, and then he does it again. The 3rd time it moves across, to the other side of the street, and you still can't make it out, but it's like a man or something. Then we have, you can see at one point it gets a little bit closer. Oh, it's probably like 15 feet, and he keeps going. We think that he's going to lift it because we know the answer is behind the 1, but he's not going for it, and we think he's going to do it, and we're going to have like a scare with the face there or something. So everyone's freaking out, and he goes to like go away, and I think he turns, and all of a sudden this thing jumps through the freaking window and grabs him, and he goes wrestling to the ground with this like demon now, who clearly crashed a motorcycle through this, because you can hear the motorcycle. So now this guy's in a motorcycle, like jacket, and he stands up and he sees him, and then he disappears. And then you have these like scenes where he's like, but the front window is still smashed, and he's turning around, and just when you start sighing and thinking, he goes and he turns around and it grabs his throat, and it was like, oh my God, I don't even know like the order of everything, but there were so many jumps in this that I was petrified. I was petrified the whole time. He kept coming back.
To watch it.
He kept coming back.
I gotta check it out. I missed it.
It was so good.
Waiting for my pretzel bites, AMC.
Should have got them to just deliver them to the seat.
They can't do it after the movie starts. All right, so we come to a scene where Dalton attempts to astral project again while Chris watches over his body, and she's attacked by an unseen entity.
Oh, in the frat house?
Yes. They sneak back into the frat house, and they go to Nick the Dick's room. Well, they don't go to Nick the Dick's room.
They're trying to find
a different room where he can find some darkness and be alone, and she watches over him. But she gets attacked. How does she get attacked?
Because he's in the further. That's just how people in that you're connected to. That's why the mom was getting attacked randomly. You can get scratches.
Because he was in the further,
get hurt, but not.
The further could reach out and touch her.
Yes.
Okay.
The door is open.
Gotcha.
It's always been the thing. If you leave the door open.
I see. Yes.
That's why the red door was always the red door. When they would astro project, they would go to it in the first. That's the red-faced demon was behind there. Gotcha. But it's I think there's a few doors.
Okay. All right, so he's
in there. He's trying to find he wants some answers. And he goes to find the kid in the frat house that died that was throwing up.
Oh, well, yeah, but yes, exactly. But then when she's getting attacked, he rushes back.
Yes.
And sees that it's the red-faced demon that tortured him.
Yeah.
Is attacking her, right?
Yeah.
So Chris warns him to stop using the abilities. Oh, and then we get the phone call.
Oh, with the brother.
Foster. It tells about a recurring dream he used to have of his dad trying to kill them. In very poor acting.
Yeah, and it kind of...
Wait, did Foster call him or did he call Foster?
I don't know. But either way, I think they were just trying to get the brother in the movie somehow.
Get him involved.
And also it was like, yeah, but they were like, I have this dream of Dad attacking us. And it was like, oh, well, that makes sense because I keep seeing that too and drawing it now and blah, blah, blah. And we find out later, you know, the mom was like, I had to keep, like, they weren't all hypnotized. Dalton was hypnotized to not go to the further, but she just kept lying to all the kids that never happened, that he didn't, you know, keep chasing them.
She knew, and the mother who died knew. They were the two who knew all this stuff and just kind of let the whole family fall apart. That's some fucked up shit.
You think that you're protecting. I think that, and we find out at the end, she kind of chose to leave for her kids, which I get, you know, but they had such a great family before, but they just kept seeing him as, you know, what's his name from The Shining? Jack.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to get over, I'm sure. And you're
here's
a young
Joshy.
child. And yeah. So yeah, I mean, the phone call is what kind of spurs him to remember that it's his dad in the painting and to finish his painting, and it's his dad's face in front of the red door.
Now, at the time that this is going on, Josh, the father, has gone. Now he's in the house with the mom.
Right, he goes
his
to
wife,
mom,
his ex-wife.
His ex-wife, and they're kind of
asking questions.
And she finally tells him everything, and finally comes clean with everything.
Yeah.
But then, where is it? Dalton's trapped in the further. Then, right? He's pulled back into the further. Attacked him in the basement. Oh no, he's just thinking about he's got the memory. Sorry. Where was this? He tackles Josh as he attempts to kill his younger self and ends up transported back to the red-faced demon's lair.
Wait, read it again?
So, spurs Dalton's memory. He finishes his painting, shows a possessed Josh in front of the red door. A distressed Dalton is pulled into the further, back to when a possessed Josh attacked them in the basement. So after he realizes
he's looking at the painting and he kind of
goes into the further.
Yes.
Again. And again, this is like you were saying, before it had to be intentional. Now he just keeps falling into the further. He just kind of like.
Yeah. Now.
Is this because they repressed it? Maybe it's like now it's been repressed so that it's like breaking through and just pulling them in.
It does make sense. Like when you think about it, I just think
he's breaching these memories. I guess.
As they got closer, they were trying to get closer, it started happening. Like he was, you know, he brought him to school. They were looking at videos. They were talking more, trying to bond. Then they fought. That probably brought out more emotions too. They were both fighting with themselves why they couldn't remember, but they were together. Like, I think I got it. I got what they were going for, that their connection was like letting the further spill over and I guess open the door somehow all of a sudden, but that's what it wasn't clear. Like it was the further spilling over throughout the whole time to just then. But they were bouncing back and forth between a lot where you had to go to sleep before to really go.
Yeah, when Dalton starts really messing, he's got to go to sleep. He's like, he specifically says, like even. He doesn't necessarily remember how he used to do it, but he just knows, like, even when he and Chris are looking for, he's like, I need someplace dark. I need someplace I can, like...
Go to sleep.
You know, exactly. So he knows the deal.
And he just like when they do with the ticking thing, 10, 9, 8. That's how Elise used to count back from 10, used to get them to go
so
in.
now he's just falling in and out. It's just a thing now, I guess. So they don't really explain, they never explain how it happens. You're kind of left to...
Yeah, it was a little... That's
piece it together yourself.
I get what they were going for. I can appreciate it because it had some great scares. But in the beginning, it wasn't just spilling over. it was them going back and forth that I didn't like. Now him going like kind of staring at, he almost got hypnotized himself by like just staring at the image. So that one was fine for me, him actually going into the further. I felt like he was staring and kind of hypnotized himself. But the other ones I was like, what the hell? Yeah. It was, yeah.
So so while that's happening with Dalton back in the further, now he's getting pulled back in, right? We have Josh back at the house with the wife, and he's researched his father and found out that he killed himself while institutionalized.
Which we know that the note, this ends with me, which is why Josh's mom kept it from him forever and had Elise hypnotize him when he was a little boy. That we get in the first one.
Generational trauma.
Yeah. But then he learns how to do it again to go save Dalton in the first one.
Is that suppressed or is that repressed? Suppressed trauma or repressed?
I think both would work, but probably repressed. I don't know. Suppressed would be you doing it yourself, maybe?
I thought repressed would be doing it yourself, and suppressed would be somebody else doing it to you. So we'll look it up for another time. If anybody knows and wants to comment the difference between repressed and suppressed trauma.
All right, on to the next.
Anyway, so yeah, that's when he's talking to his ex about the dad, and that's when she reveals the truth about what happened, and that his dad also had the ability to visit the further, and that it was interpreted as mental illness. And and then Foster comes in and he's like, "Oh, is this you, Dad?" with the painting and the finished painting, because
yes,
that's what kind of
because we needed that big moment.
And that's when they realize that Dalton is in danger. And Renee, all of a sudden, after 10 years of suppressing everything, is like, fucking get into the further and get our son.
Yeah, that's right, because he sent him a picture, But he's not answering his phone, so she just assumes that he's
something's wrong. Get in there and get him.
Yeah.
So yes, with Dalton trapped in the lair, the demon possesses his body and attempts to kill Chris. Josh goes into the...
Yeah, I did like that scene with like that one demon that was always like making clothes and stuff, the original one that had him trapped there, the red-faced demon, because they had like the flashbacks of him as a kid like crying. And now he's trapped again. You know. And
the chains and stuff.
With the record spinning. Yeah.
Well, the physical body is killing Chris in the real world, and while Dalton is being held prisoner by the...
Yeah, I didn't like that.
The demon used Dalton's body and jumps over and is killing Chris, and then until Josh projects in, finds Dalton, and saves him.
Yeah, I didn't like Dalton's possessed body, because what we know from when Josh was possessed,
he was like a deadite. He looked like a deadite. I liked when it went to the, like, I knew it was coming too, when she was flashing something on and off, or she was doing something when she was reading something. And it would show his face, and he was like sitting there all concerned and normal. And then on like the third one, he looked like a deadite, just like.
Yeah.
And then she cuts back to the light off, and the silhouette gets up and walked away. I was like, that was pretty cool. Right.
Now, it was, but what I...
But I get what you're saying, like, this thing couldn't...
So maybe because it was a demon. No, they could. So Josh got possessed when your body, if you astral project and you leave your body, that's why in the beginning, like, all the ghosts are, like... The ghosts in need are crawling at him. They did that in the first one and stuff. That's why, you had to hide your body if you were astral projecting. But it wasn't that easy. That's why what was it, the first one? Or no, it's the second one when they're with all the ghosts, it kind of like spills over and they're all trying to get, I don't know. It's always been the creepy moment in these movies where all these dead people are trying to use your body. Right. But from what we know from Josh, when that serial killer, Parker or whatever it was, that dresses the Black Bride or whatever, When he possessed him, he looked the same. It was, nobody knew except Elise saw the fingernails and she was getting images. And then he started to decay his body. So in Insidious 2, his teeth are falling out, and because his rotten corpse, and you have like the images of the mother, the ghost mother yelling at him, but in Josh's body, and that's when he starts to kind of decay and stuff, and you're killing that body because you're so, evil. And this one, he kind of just looked like a demon. I was like, is it because he's a demon that his eyes are glowing? I don't know. I mean, I guess so. It wasn't so unbelievable, but I was kind of like, I thought it would have been cooler if he looked like him and she didn't know that he was possessed until it was too late,
True.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think but then you don't get that little jump scare.
Yeah,
with him looking all creepy. Which I
it was fine.
So
it was fine.
It. That's a creative choice to intentionally get that little jump scare.
And I think,
so
and we just got to talk about these things, right? Yeah.
Let's see. So then, one thing that we didn't talk about was when at the beginning when Dalton's an art student and all that, and so when he moves into his dorm, he's putting up pictures that he's drawn. He's drawn a picture of his mom, he's drawn a picture of his grandma, he's drawn a picture of his brother, and his dad's like, "Oh, I didn't make the wall, huh? I don't blame you." It's just like, no picture of Dad up there.
No.
Nope. Yeah, that's fucking heartbreaking, man.
No.
But I know how it feels, Dad. I know how it feels.
There's reasons, and they're gonna bond.
I get it. But that also was a very good. So we get towards the end of the movie here, and if we want to wrap this up, of course.
They're in the further.
Right.
There's a lot of Dalton sees what happened with his dad. He sees that it's not really his dad. He sees that he goes to, just like in the second one, he goes to save his father. And he's like, "I can do it, Mommy." And she's like, "Okay." And she tries to hide him. And possessed dad goes with the hammer to go kill Dalton's little 6-year-old body. Right. And his real dad in the further tackles that and just wrestles that stupid bride person to the ground. And they kill that being in the further. So that was cool. He sees all those moments and all the flashbacks. Oh, and then they show all the flashbacks of them kind of running. So he sees
of him saving him.
His dad saving him
as a boy out of the further.
Yeah.
With the
that was
lantern
touching.
And everything else. Right.
Yeah.
So then, and that's, So Josh meets his father's spirit, guides him back to the living world. Once back, Josh agrees to have dinner with Renee and the kids, hinting at the possible reunion.
Oh, no, you just skipped a part, though.
Which part?
No, you skipped what happened.
Yeah. Sorry.
So that's why I was getting to where, but the door, the demon is behind the red door. And now he's got to hold the door for Dalton. And after a little bit of back and forth, he tells Dalton to go. And he's going to hold the door. So he's basically sacrificing himself for Dalton to go back to his body. Long story short, Dalton gets back. We don't know. We hear him dying, which I kind of thought was weird. I guess you had to be back within a certain time. In the last ones, I remember she would always set like a timer, but it didn't say that you were going to die if you didn't get back. It was like, well, somebody's going to take over your body. You're either going to be trapped. You could be trapped and
your spirit trapped, or
and
you're in a coma.
And you're in a coma, or somebody, and now your body can. But the fact that he's holding the door and he starts hearing his heart slow down, I was like, how did he make himself do that? Like, I got it, but I was like, he just made himself die? I don't know. It was a little weird. That part was a little weird. He dies. Then Dalton gets back and he starts blacking out the picture of the red door, right. Which I guess happens
seals the real door in the further permanently.
I don't know why.
But
but that happened.
So then Josh meets his father's spirit.
Yes.
Who guides him back to the living world.
Yes.
For a happy ending.
So now he's alive again.
I wonder if there was an ending where Josh dies and just sacrifices himself. And they said, hey, we want a happy ending here. We can't kill Josh.
I'm sure there's a... Yeah, I don't know. Usually there's a little twist at the end.
I wonder. Yeah. But it's a nice touch that he meets his father and he helps him get back. And then we get the... Josh drives to Dalton's college, father and son reconcile, and Dalton whips out the painting of Josh carrying him out of the further. And we have the whole feel-good, final father-son reconnection.
I thought it was going to be the picture of the black over the red door for some reason. And I was like, why would you do that? I thought they said destroy that, because it looked black when he, like it was black on the outsides, but I was like, he's like, oh, I made the wall. And I was like, no, we didn't. And then it was like that nice picture. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and in a post-credit scene, the light above the new sealed red door begins to flicker, which we didn't stay to see.
No. That's usually what happens, something
at the end,
that you don't know.
It might come back.
Usually the candle flick, yeah.
So.
I think they should, yeah, it's hard with a different cast.
Yeah, but again, I mean, maybe you follow Specs and Tucker.
Yeah, and they're in the...
Or maybe you do more old, you do more... Prequels with Lin Shaye. There's plenty of other stuff.
We got to talk about that.
You can go.
With Lin Shaye. Her scene at the end.
Yeah. Let's talk about that real quick, because that's at the very end.
I have a weird little take on this.
What do you think?
So, I'm going to be honest. So, Lin Shaye's character as Elise is in this. In the beginning, it's a commercial. It's a YouTube video.
It's a video, yes.
Whatever.
You keep saying commercial like she's doing a used car commercial.
That's what it seemed like. Specs and they were doing like a commercial.
No, they had a YouTube show. They had a YouTube channel. Okay. Just like us, duh.
This isn't a commercial. I'm showing my age. Everything on.
Everything's a commercial to her.
So listen. Okay, she was doing a video.
Yeah, somebody videoed. She was doing like a symposium or something. She was talking to people. To a giant auditorium.
I noticed this, and I want to know if anyone else noticed this. And I know that she really did film for this, but she was saying lines that I was like, that sounds like they pulled that exact line out of the first movie, word for word. I thought she didn't film this. I had to go back and see, and I thought they like had a computerized version of her. She didn't seem real, didn't she? She did not seem real to me.
In the end scene you're talking, or the other scene?
From the edibles.
Yeah, you were on edibles. I think that's why she didn't seem real to you.
Because I've been thinking about this for 2 days.
I think it was the edibles.
No, she did not look real in that last scene, and she said the same lines again. And I was like, why is she saying the exact same lines from the commercial?
From the commercial?
Yes.
The commercial was for the movie that we were watching?
Okay, you're going to listen. Okay,
this is going
to make sense. Okay. So when she walks up to Josh, when he's watching a video, not the video on YouTube, but he pulls up an old video of her explaining, or no, it is that video, and she's got her hand on her lap. She says some type of phrase, and it was about astro projecting, and she's like, but if all the people there, and she kind of gives you like a rundown on what type of beings are in the further, and says this line. Well, that was literally word for word what she said in the first one. I mean, I remember her saying that when she's explaining it to him as an adult, that he's got to go back. So I don't know if they just did the same line just for that.
That's how she explains it.
But
maybe
then,
that's like her stock answer.
Yeah, and then when they had the flashbacks, she says, I'm a friend of your mother and all this. And then when she sees him in the street, she said the same exact line again. And I was like, she goes, I was a friend of your mother. So I was like, did she not really film this, or did she film one scene and they literally just used it in 3 parts of the movie? I felt like there was some type of funny business going on. Because it was word for word the same. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like
it could just be the edibles. Go research it.
I'm going to show you when it actually streams. We got to remember this.
All right.
It just seemed a little funky.
We will remember it. Okay, another little tidbit of trivia here for music enthusiasts. The soundtrack included a song by the band Ghost. It is a cover of the Shakespeare sister song Stay, and actor Patrick Wilson's vocals appear on the track as well. Plays during the closing credits.
Yeah.
So, Patrick Wilson, triple threat.
I know.
Actor, director, singer. Look at, man,
he's handsome.
Look at that.
Man.
He does have that daddy thing going on.
He sure does.
So this is a Blumhouse release. Producer Jason Blum. Blumhouse keeps giving us horrors with good jump scares. Keeps putting some stuff in theaters for us. So I guess that's about it. Any other trivia we need to talk about, Steph Infection? Should we read some stuff from our friends? Or, you have more trivia? What do you got?
I got... So the college featured in the film is named after Jane Pierce, who was one of the former First Ladies. She was an occultist who would hold seances in the White House to communicate to her dead son. So obviously, President Pierce's wife. Thought that was cool. And I think a lot of people noticed this. I noticed this right in the beginning of the movie. And the trailer said 10 years later. The movie says 9 years later. Technically, it was 2013, so... It was released to 2023, so it was 10, but not that it really matters. I don't know. We notice everything.
I don't notice everything.
I noticed that because I was like, I remember I watched the trailer right before we went. We had some friends. I'm going to just, we made some posts to see if anyone, our friend.
Checking in on our Facebook pages, some comments and stuff from you guys that saw it. And,
so Dave Rad, our friend, he said, after a recent rewatch of all the films we've found, talking about him and his better half, and probably their newborn gorgeous daughter, we found that Insidious 4, The Last Key, is the most perfect film in the franchise. It's not as well made as the first film, but it's the scariest. I haven't seen The Red Door, obviously. There are 2 or 3 scares that stayed with me from The Last Key, when the whistle monster in the basement, I remember that scene, and the fantastic suitcase opening demon sequence. I can't remember that one. The suitcase scene was a perfect example of the seasoned horror veterans know that a jump scare is coming up. Let me fuck with their minds for this next bit. I feel like all these movies do that.
That's what,
He said the story is good and it does a nice job linking to the first 2 films. I thought I think as a whole, even if we ended it here, this entire franchise is perfectly made in a way that, besides this one, like I said, I had to criticize it with like a little bit of reaching. They all kind of are connected in a way that just makes everything whole, and you're like, oh, I love that. I love it.
Yeah, and they jump around a bit too. So like you said, like 3 and 4 being prequels. Going in a different direction, so it doesn't just follow the same. That's kind of why I felt a little bit lost, but I'd like, maybe watch 1, 2, and 5 back to back.
Dude, Insidious Night. I'm so down. They're my favorite.
Real quick, I'll give one from Ben Speck here, who says, I wonder how many gullible people who need MRIs are going to be scared to go in and get one. I'll be one of them. I'm not going in that tube. I will make sure I go. They have like a stand-up MRI or something somewhere, don't they?
No.
There's like an open MRI or something, right?
And do you remember the last time you had to get an open MRI? You called me. You couldn't even finish that one. Yes, you did.
Why? How's the open MRI?
They're not. You still got to go through a donut. That was on your head, so that was a little bit different.
Yeah, this is on something else, so hopefully we won't have to worry about it.
Okay, don't get weird.
Paul Mauld asking when he can be on the podcast with us. We will have you at some point, Paul. We're still figuring out the guest thing. Still trying to get this thing rolling and up and running with the just doing these movie reviews.
Yeah.
And not having any technical difficulties with just the two of us.
Yeah.
So far, so good. And maybe once we hit that monetization thing and we don't have to worry about that anymore, we could start talking about doing ones with guests.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. Even if we, figure out something.
Yeah, and I have actor and stunt friends, and we have filmmaker friends and other people, musicians and all, who would love to come on and join us for a little discussion.
We could just move down to our second.
Yeah, we have other sets that we've got
second set
on.
that we can, we can have more than one person.
We could have multiple people come in studio, and we could sit and have a little round table discussion sometime.
I just
maybe not round table, but long table.
Somebody turned on the air.
I had it set at a certain point; it would kick back on.
It's all right. So if you hear anything, whatever.
Yeah.
This is all the little stuff that we have to deal with, but it is what it is, and we have fun. So
these mics might not pick up that.
I doubt it. Yeah, I think we're good. All right. Before we go, I am going to. Before we give total final thoughts, I just want to. Talk about our mailbag. I know that we usually post stuff and you can comment and like or whatever on Facebook or Instagram. I didn't really check the Instagram actually, but some people were liking the posts. We also have an email. It is Deadsville horrortalk@gmail.com. Subject mailbag. If you want to send us pictures, tell us something that you think that we should review, talk about something previously.
Tell me I'm canceled for saying Viva la Vagine!
Okay, settle down there.
Viva la Vagine.
Don't do it.
I didn't do it. You're not canceling me.
Anyway, this came in a couple weeks ago. This is from our friend Louis Moss. I just want to make sure I get to it. He said he loved our episode. This is, like I said, a couple weeks ago, She Came from the Woods. And he just told us what he had going on. So if you're in Wisconsin, Frankenhooker has a show July 22nd. And we said this is like free advertising.
Yes, check out Frankenhooker, horror punk band.
It's their Goodbye Dan show, July 22nd, which will be a week after this airs, at Filligan's Island Bar and Grill. Lakeshore, Clintonville, Wisconsin at 7 p.m. No cover. It's a free show. Get out there. So, and there's a couple other bands on there. So we just wanted to, he's always, he's got a lot going on, and he's making shorts.
Slasher podcast.
Yeah,
he's doing his own thing as a independent filmmaker. So being creative, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Anything else in the mailbag, Steph Infection?
Nothing.
Come on, there's more mailbag. What do we got? Give us, what was Kelsey's question?
Kelsey's question. I thought we could leave it.
All right, so this one.
All right, we'll leave this, and if you want to email us, then you can answer this.
Yes, Kelsey has a question for everybody out there. And we'll answer it now as well.
I will let you ask this question.
So the question is, would you rather vomit a parasite or shit it out? So you have a parasite in your body, and this was after we did what? Evil Dead? Evil Dead,
yes, because she was trying to get the bugs out of her belly. Gotta get the bugs out of my tummy.
Yes. yes.
So she's eating glass.
So, you have a parasite in your stomach. Would you rather throw it up or shit it out? Write us. Leave some comments.
Yay. Right. We'll talk about it next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, I'll wait. We'll think on it. I'm not going to give you my answer now. We'll wait.
I know my answer, but...
I know mine, too.
No.
But play. Yeah.
That is not my answer.
All right. And with that, once again, we call to action. Subscribe, like, follow, comment. Email us.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Tell your friends.
Come to our shows.
Yes, come to the shows.
Yeah.
And there's more. I saw like 2 more trailers for horror movies coming out next month. Steph Infection into the theaters, man. Horror's coming back.
Yes, I love it. And it's the summer. It's not even like October, you know?
Yeah, we got some good stuff coming.
Love it.
Looking forward to some more stuff. All right, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Overall, I really enjoyed this. I appreciated it it felt like it wrapped the franchise up for me in a way. I wouldn't be mad if there were more. I probably would still consider this like the final wrap up of the 5, and it felt really good. Great scares. Overall, if you're, see it. If you haven't seen any of them, see 1, 2, and then 5, and then you can go back and watch 3 and 4. But I really, I did enjoy it. I didn't like some pacing issues with it and a little bit of writing, but overall, I thought it was great. I really, I did. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed it, and I don't know why it's getting so much hate from some of the critics. I just think they're being a bit harsh on Patrick Wilson for his directorial debut. I think, being a director and a newer director, it's fucking hard, man, and he does a good job. This is his first damn movie, and he's the star of the damn movie. I really enjoyed it. The pacing issues were there. It was a little slow. It plotted at times. It could have been picked up. You could have, like we said, as the audience, we knew a lot more than the characters did, and I felt like maybe he, as the director, put himself in his character's shoes a little too much when this stuff was kind of unfolding, and therefore it was very slow, and he didn't realize, oh shit, the audience already knows all this stuff. We got to get through this a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little.
That's more. He was more kind of put himself in his character's shoes. So I don't know if. I don't want to say that the directing hurt him, but it's a tough thing to do being on both sides of the camera, and it can definitely influence the way one side or the other turns out. And his acting was excellent. So his directing can use some work. His first time out there, though, I think it does a really good job, really solid job for the first time out. And just pick up the pace a little bit in spots. I thought it could have been excellent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's real good, and definitely, especially if you like these movies and you like jump scares and you dig horror and you want to go to the movies and see something.
Oh, definitely. Don't get the back row seats.
Sit close to the screen.
I will say, because I forgot to say this earlier, if you are a fan of all of them, you're kind of going to get more of the scares from The Last Key and kind of like CGI mixed in it, whereas we didn't have that at all in the first 2. So if you're looking for that, 2010, 2013 James Wan, the way he directed, it was very like quiet with scares and very creepy. It's got a different feel. It's more like The Last Key, but I feel like we've progressed, so we just kind of got there. So there is a little bit of CGI mixed. So you're never going to get the original. It's never going to feel the same because it was such a creepy.
Director now this time too. So
it was just feel. And The Last Key was somebody different also. It was Specs, we said, right? Yeah. So that same thing. It was just a different twist, but it still has that feel. It still is great.
Overall, it's a good, solid franchise, man. 5 movies. I didn't even realize it was that many. But, here we are. Insidious 5. Go see it now in theaters. Yes. Rated PG-13.
All right.
That'll do it for us, Steph Infection. That's the end of another episode here at Deadsville Horror Talk. Stay spooky out there, fiends.
Bye, Scream Hearts.